Hi there Libra, thank you for joining me for your weekly forecast for week commencing the 3rd of November. Change and transition, it's part of life. It's the hardest part of life probably. And as we get older, we realise that things are probably at some levels always constantly evolving. Not least that every day we wake up, we're one day older. But over the last couple of years for you, the big changes have put an emphasis on what you earn and the foundations of your world through the role of Saturn. But equally, over the last 6 or 7 years, there's been greater and greater intensity around your thinking in terms of who you are, your personal identity, the things that are important to you as far as communications within the family, your personal security. All these things have been very much to the fore. And this week sees a lot of changes go on astrologically, but I think actually can be very rewarding for you. Now the week starts off with an echo of last week in terms of the wonderful energies of Jupiter combining with Mercury in your sign, and a connection with one friend or a group of people may still be lifting your spirits and brightening you as you enter this new week. But your ruler Venus is also combining in a very seductive way with Pluto. This is an aspect which also runs on from last week. It is just for the first 2 days, it's true, but it's continuing to ask you to be much more aware of the things you have in your life rather than the things you don't. And part of it could be just emotional articulatedness in certain relationships. So that is something to really treasure. It's not all about the more glamorous side of relating. But then the Sun goes on to connect from Monday through to Friday in the sign of Scorpio with Pluto as well. And this is ramping up the intensity, if you like, about understanding those foundations much more clearly. So you could find yourself evolving in terms of what you have, what you own, what's important in terms of your values, or about how you relate to other people. There is, however, a full moon which occurs on Thursday, which suggests that if you're still trying to balance the books, your frustrations about that can certainly be to the fore. But it's from then that Mars, in the sign of Capricorn now, starts to go alongside Pluto. And Pluto is a planet which is, of course, about change and transformation, but it isn't one that we can always use as and when we choose to reel it in. In other words, sometimes changes can seem to be forced upon us, and not always very comfortably so when Pluto is concerned. So we put Mars there, which remember is the planet of instant gratification and desire, and it's about us, our ego. And it's important that when you're discussing anything that's very personal to you, that you don't jump to any conclusions, that you don't only see things from your own perspective, that you avoid being overly passive-aggressive, because there is a potential for that at the latter part of this week. But the upside is that if you are wanting to make those transitions and you do feel that you can affect the process, the determination that you can apply this week can be absolutely incredible. It's just that you need to bring people with you, because I do feel that your perspective is going to be deeply inward as this week draws to a close. And therefore, if you can just look up, look around you and retain that natural Libran instinct for discussion and working things out in a more logical way, this will help you to offset some of the more passionate energies that are going to get aroused. And that could head off a few arguments or disagreements, especially with the people at the very heart of your life. You may not get quite what you're going through, quite in the way that you really crave that they should. It's been a real pleasure being with you. Thank you for joining me. Good luck and goodbye for now.